This Sunday was our second of 3 weeks studying Hosea 2, and we started this morning by reviewing the expectation of the psalmist in Psalm 74 and then Psalm 79 of the restoration of Israel. And we talked about how we're now 2,000 years after the ascension of Christ and the pouring out of the Holy Spirit, and there's a question of how long, and shall we keep waiting, and is this something that do we have something to stand upon? Has God already known and declared that this time would be? And we said, claim last week was yes, He has, and He foreknew and foredeclared it in Hosea 3. So we began this week by reading Hosea 3, and in particular focusing on verses 4 and 5, what we call the days of Israel, the many days, that they would be without 6 things that are listed there, including sacrifice, king, prince, and then the last days when they would return to God and to His goodness. And we asked the question when those were, and we made the claim again that it was the church age, our current age, are those many days that God declared, and then the last days are those when Israel will return to God and then the millennial kingdom experience His goodness. And we said that there's a clarity that is what God was referring to through Hosea when He wrote that, but that it didn't probably on the surface feel so clear. It wasn't, we said, a sky is blue kind of clear, but more of a Sherlock Holmes kind of clear, where we might need to track down a few clues before we could say, aha, I see. And in particular, we looked at 2 different clues. We talked about how in Hosea 3 and before it in Hosea 1, there's a sequencing and ordering of events in the narrative between Hosea and Gomer, and how what we can learn from that is that the prophetic significance of each of those events, the relevance, what that indicates for the relationship between Israel and God, will also be in sequential order. And we didn't go into using that clue. We'll do that next week as we look at Hosea 1 and 3, but we said that's going to be an important clue for making clear the meaning and the timing of the prophecy of Hosea 3. And then the second clue we looked at is there was this poem, this poetic section in Hosea 2 that split the narrative. And what we found is we looked at each section of that poem was each section corresponded to a section in the narrative. So the first section in Hosea 2 corresponded to the first section of Hosea 1, and so on, so that what we learned from that, or what we'll see on Wednesday as we look more deeply at Hosea 2, is that each of those sections in Hosea 2 can help us understand the prophetic import, again, of the narrative section. So what does it mean for Jezreel to be born? Well, we can look at what's prophesied around Jezreel, but we can also look at Hosea 2, 6 through 8 or 9. I don't recall exactly where the break was, but we'll be able to look at the sections of Hosea 2 to help us understand Hosea 1 and Hosea 3. So those 2 clues, the ordering, and then Hosea 2 corresponding to the narrative in Hosea 1 and 3, were the 2 clues that we said are going to help us to get clarity on when are the many days and the last days of Israel prophesied in Hosea 3. So hope this was an encouragement for you to perhaps check out the full sermon this morning. Lord willing, we'll see you Wednesday night to cover Hosea 2 and then have our final time together next Sunday as we look at Hosea 1 and 3, and in particular, the days of Israel in Hosea 3. God bless.